and the sons of the strangers shall build up thy walls.
The sons of the stranger are the other nations. They're going to build back up your land. Read on.
And their kings shall minister unto thee.
And their kings, their rulers are going to become ministers to you, servants to you. Read on.
For in my wrath I smote thee.
God said in his wrath, he punished us.
But in my favor have I had mercy on
But
thee.
he said, I'm going to still choose you. We're going to read in the Bible.
Tugenda kusoma mu Bayibuli
Our history.
ebyafaayo byaffe.
Does any of you understand how black people ended up, Africans ended up in America?
Waliwo omu ku mmwe ategeera engeri abaddugavu gye baakomekereza nga bagenze mu Amerika?
Slavery. Very good. Do you know that is recorded in the Bible?
Obadde okimanyi nti kyawandiikibwa mu Bayibuli?
Slavery took us to America. What means of transportation did we make it over to the other side of the earth?
Nti abaddu baabatwala mu Amerika naye baakozesa ntambula ki okubatwala mu ssemazinga oli omulala?
How?
Baakozesa ntambula ki okubajja mu ssemazinga Africa okubatwala eri? Baakozesa bigere. They have said that they used foot, they were footing.
No. We were carried away on ships, on slave ships.
Entambula gye baakozesa batwala ku ssemazinga wa Amerika baakozesa maato. Ebiseera ebyo tewaaliwo nnyonyi, wali tosobola kusala kudda ku ssemazinga Africa nga otambula butambuzi, baakozesa maato.
My family was stolen and taken over there.
Family yabbibwa n'etawalibwa eri, bagibwa kuno ne batwalibwa eri.
And we can read that in the Bible.
Naye agamba tusobola okisoma mu Bible.
Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter.
Olw'amateeka 28.
Verse 68.
28 olunyiriri 28 sura ya 68.
So God had Moses record blessings and curses.
Katonda yalagira Musa awandiike ebikolimo n'emikisa.
Blessings if we keep the commandments, curses if we broke the commandments.
N'awandiika emikisa bwe tuba tukoze amateeka ga Katonda n'ekikolimo bwe tuba tukoze amateeka ga Katonda.
Okay, let's read Deuteronomy 28, and I want to begin in verse 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake thee.
Read on.
Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
God said if we broke the commandments, he was going to punish us or curse us. He said, cursed shalt thou be in the city and cursed in the field. How were we cursed in the field? All the natural resources of this land has made the world rich, yet Africa stays poor.
So Bible eraga wano ntino wano byebimu ku bikolimo Musa bye yasomera abaana ba Isirayiri n'abagamba mutaakole mateeka ga Katonda kuwuliriza ddoboozi lye mugenda kubanga mukolimirwa mu kibuga ne mu kyalo. Agambye nti nno ensi ziri ezikuze byonna ebyobugagga babijja wano mu Africa. Kiba kitegeeza ki? Kiba kitegeeza kikolimo.
Verse 32.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 32.
What we're reading are the curses that was going to happen to the children of Israel, and that will identify who we are.
So byetusoma byebikolimo ebinaabeera ku baana ba Isirayiri era kyekimu ekitegeeza ki kye tuli. Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
Listen, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Read on.
And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long.
When was that? That's when we were carried away in slavery. Many of our people don't understand that there was the transatlantic slave trade on the west coast of Africa, and then there was the sub-Saharan slave trade on the east coast of Africa.
So, Bible waniraga nti no ekirala kutukoli mu Katonda kyawa abaana ba Isirayiri nti abaana bammwe ab'obuwala n'ab'obulenzi bagenda kuweebwa abantu abalala. Bino byonna byabaawo mu bukiika bwa Africa ne mu kkono bwa Africa.
Verse 41.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 41. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity.
God said that we will have sons and daughters, but you will not enjoy them because they will go into captivity. You've never heard this before in church, and this is the same Bible that all of you read from.
So, ekirikolima ekirala kiraga nti Bible egamba nti no mujja kufuna abaana ab'obulenzi n'ab'obuwala naye temujja banyumirwa bajja genda mu buddu. Ekirabirwako kikino essaawa zino bataata bamaliza okusomesa abaana baabwe baba batwalawa Dubai, baba bagenze kukola ki? Baba bagenze kukola buddu. Si ekyo Bible kiba kitegeeza kigambo kituufu ate kirina abantu bekiwogererako bennyini ebibatuukako.
Thy sons and daughters shall be going to captivity. How do they go? On slave ships. And I told you before, that's in the Bible. Verse 68.
Abasooka bagendera ku maato, abasooka babatwalira ku maato. Kati bano ab'ennaku zino nga bwe bagamba nti modern era, kati babatwala mubawaayo mwe bennyini nti omwana wange agende akole. So, verse 68.
Okay.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
It said, and the Lord shall bring thee again into Egypt. But this time he said you're going to go by what?
With ships.
The Egypt is not referring to Egypt here in Africa. The Egypt is referring to the condition of slavery. We can prove that in the book of Exodus chapter 20 verse 2. That Egypt means slavery. So when you read it, it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into bondage again with what?
With ships.
With ships. That's in the Bible. That's how we were carried away. What you are witnessing is one of the children of the slave trade that was taken from here because we broke God's commandments. But I'm back.
So, bino byabaawo ku baana ba Isirayiri kubanga twamenya amateeka ga Katonda. N'olwekyo kati essaawa zino tulina okukomawo okukola amateeka.
Kyageza kutegeeza yeeweddeko ekyokulabirako. Be bano be baatwala mu Amerika era bakomyewo okusomesa ffe abantu abali wano mu Uganda. Ye bano kubamu ku be baatwala.
Do it again.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 68.
Stop. And if you have any questions, you can ask. It's not like church. If I'm talking and you have a question, you feel free to ask.
So, wamma muyina ekibuuzo musobola okubuuza. Ekiringa kyaki nti mugenda kumalako gundi yonna session yonna nga tobuuzizza kibuuzo.
This is not like church where you just listen to somebody talk to you and then you give him money. No. If any man says he's a man of God and he speaks from here, he should answer anybody's question.
So, wabaawo waliwo omuntu alina ekibuuzo ali wano asobola okubuuza ekibuuzo.
Okay, read verse 68.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
into bondage again with ships.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
It says that we were not going to see our homeland anymore again.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. You are going to be taken on slave ships and then sold to your enemies. Read on.
For bondmen and bondwomen.
For slave men and slave women.
Kyageza kusoma tusoma mu kitabo ky'amateeka 28 lugamba Mukama alikuzza mu Misiri mu maato mu kkubo yenda kusuubiza yotayiddamu kulaba n'agamba nti tetuliddamu kulaba Israel. Uganda si ensi yaffe erina kuba nga ye Isirayiri.
And you shall be sold unto your enemies. And we were sold. Where?
Era twatundibwa eri balabe baffe. Abuuza twatundibwa wa ani amanyi?
Who bought us?
Ani amanyi baani abaatugula mu buwambi?
Whose slave ships were there?
Amaato age batwalirako abaddu gaali g'abaani ani amanyi kuva bali wano?
The white man.
Amaato gaali g'abasajja beeru bazungu.
God said your enemy.
Katonda agambye abo balabe baffe.
Read it one more time.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Into bondage again with ships.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
When you was on a slave ship, we never saw this land. I never seen this land again. My family was taken away. What?
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
And there you shall be sold unto your enemies.
For bondmen and bondwomen.
For slave men and slave women. That's recorded in the Bible.
So bali mutulaga engeri twatundibwamu nga abaddu era babalaga ebifaananyi bibino nga bali mu kutunda abaddu naye yennyini omu ku be baatunda tebaddamu kulaba eno famire teddanga mu kulaba wano eno. So ali mu kulaga nti bino ebiri wano eno byawandiikibwa ne mu Bayibuli.
I also want to say
era era kyayagala okugamba ekirala
it wasn't just the white.
teyali muzungu yekka.
The Arab
waliwo n'abawalabu
man also sold us into slavery.
n'abawalabu nabo batunda mu buddu.
The sub-Saharan slave trade lasted hundreds of years.
Bakulaga obuddu bw'abawalabu bwawangala emyaka 10. Bakulaga bano baali bawalabu wanene.
So on the west coast of Africa, you had the transatlantic slave trade.
Eri mu west coast eri mu west bakulaga nti bo baali bazungu.
On the east coast, you had sub-Saharan slave trade.
Ene waffe mu East Africa baali basajja bawalabu be batwala mu buwambi.
So I'm asking you a question.
Ayina ekibuuzo kyagenda okubuuza erimu.
Are you Africans from what you were taught?
Abuuza okusinza kwe batugamba muli Bafirika anasobola okuddamu ekibuuzo ekyo.
Yes?
He said that we are Africans.
Okay, watch. Watch. None of you are African. You know why I say that for? Africa, the continent, was named after a white man. His name was Leo Cypricus Africanus. He defeated Hannibal in the Third Punic War. You're not African because you have the descendants of him. Like I'm not American because America was named after a white man. His name was Amerigo Vespucci. Psalms 49, verse 11. Always remember, the one that carried you into slavery, that have robbed your land, will never teach you the truth of the Bible.
Pop.
They don't think they will ever fall. But they will. Their inward thought is that their house will continue forever. Read.
And their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names.
They call their lands after their name. So when Hannibal was defeated, Leosippicus Africanus said, I'm going to name this land Africa.
So bakola kati mu lutalo obawangula Hannibal omuzungu n'agamba ngenda kutuuma continent eno mu lukalu luno era kutuuma erinnya lyange Africa.
Read it again.
The book of Psalms chapter 49 verse 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names.
They named the lands after themselves. They understood something. As long as they keep the children of Israel lost from the words of God, they will always be on top. So they taught you, they begin to teach you that Moses was white, that Solomon was white, that the apostles were white, that Jesus Christ was white, that God is white. Don't be foolish and say it doesn't matter. That's a Christian mind. It's recorded in the Bible. Let's begin. Revelation chapter 1. I want you to read Revelation 1 and 1.
The book of Revelation chapter 1 verse 1. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John.
The word revelation, the root word is to reveal. He told him he's going to show him things that are going to come to pass. Let's read on. Jump on down to verse 12.
Verse 12. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me.
This is John the Revelator. He turned to see the voice that was speaking to him.
And being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. And in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and got about the paps with a golden girdle. His head,
listen, it says this person he saw, his head
and his hairs were white like wool.
It says his head and his hair were white like wool. Give me the image. Give me the other image. Esau. This is the image that you was taught was Jesus Christ. The Bible said his hair and his head is white like wool. Who is the people with woolly hair? You are the ones with woolly hair. That's in the Bible. Read.
His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Verse 15. And his feet like unto fine brass.
And his feet were like fine brass.
As if they burnt in a furnace.
What color is brass? Brass is brown. As if it burned in a furnace. He was dark brown. Now, why did God and Christ have their color and image recorded in the Bible?
Mwebuze lwaki Katonda ne Kristo empanana yaabwe bagiwandiika mu Bayibuli?
Because he knew
kubanga yamanya
they would try to deceive the people
bajja kubajjamu akaseera ke batulimba
and change his color.
nga bakyusa empanana ya Katonda.
Okay. Prior to the 1400s,
mu kyasa ky'ekumi
there was no white image of Jesus Christ.
Tewaliwo kifaananyi kyeru nga kinene kya Yesu.
None.
Tewaliwo kifaananyi yadde.
It was during the Renaissance period
bakolaga mu biseera by'abazungu okwebbulula
when Borgias depicted the drawings that later became this image.
ne bakolaga nti omuzungu yakuba ebifaananyi binene
Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, painters,
bakolaga nti Leonardo da Vinci ne Michelangelo basiga ekifaananyi
began to draw these sketches and made that as the image of Christ. In the Dark Ages, we ruled the earth.
mu biseera byeri bakolaga abaddugavu be baali bafuga ensi.
And then during the Renaissance period,
mu biseera by'okwebbulula eby'abazungu
we fell
ne tugwa
and they began to change the image.
era niko kukyusanga bifaananyi binene.
We're going to read that in the Bible.
bakisoma mu Bayibuli mweyakiraba.
First Maccabees 3.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 3, verse 48. And laid open the book of the law.
Listen, the Bible, the Edomites, the white man, laid open the book of the law. Here is the book of the law.
bakolaga omuzungu yabikula ekitabo yabikola Bayibuli eno
wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their image.
Have any of you ever heard this before? It's to make you feel good.
ogendayo bakatera kuwulira bulizi bulungi.
The real Bible, the real church,
Bayibuli entuufu oba ekkanisa entuufu
is to change your mind
kwe kukyusa ebirowoozo byo.
that we can rule again. So we just read Christ is black
tusome nti Kristo yali muddugavu
in the New Testament.
tugenda kusoma mu ndagaano empya kati.
Now we're going to read that he's black in the Old Testament.
kati tugenda kusoma mu ndagaano enkati tulagati ne mu ndagaano enkati nayo era yali muddugavu.
Let's go to the book of Daniel,
Kitabo kya Danyeri
verse 6.
The book of Daniel, chapter 10, verse 6. His body also was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms
And his arms
and his feet like in color to polished brass.
as in color to polished brass.
so bali mukolaga nti mu Danyeri bakolaga ebigere bye n'emikono gye byali bifaananga ekikomo ekizigule.
I have a question.
Alina ekibuuzo.
Jesus Christ
Yesu Kristo
was from the line of King David.
yava mu lunyiriri lwa kabaka Dawudi.
Do you know that already?
Mbadde mukimanyi ekyo.
King David had his son. What was his name?
Dawudi alina omwana anamanya ennyala mwana wa Dawudi gwe yazaala.
Anybody knows King David's son's name?
Anamanya ennyala mwana wa kabaka Dawudi.
Solomon was the son of King David.
Sulemaani yali mutabani wa kabaka Dawudi.
When David died, Solomon took the throne.
Dawudi we yafa Sulemaani n'aba nga yafuga.
And from that line came Jesus Christ.
Oba okuva mu lunyiriri olwo ne Yesu yava mu olwo lunyiriri.
The question is, what color is Solomon?
Bakubuuza kati ekibuuzo kiri nti Sulemaani yali afaanana atya mu Bayibuli.
I never met any of you,
Tabasiikanangako mwenna abali wano.
but I can be sure that your father was black
Naye asobola ku ndabika yaabwe asobola batutamwe baali baddugavu.
and his father was black.
Ne bajjajja bwe baali baddugavu.
Let's read Solomon.
Kati kabasome kabaka Sulemaani mulabe enfaanana ye.
Listen up.
The Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. I am black.
What did Solomon say?
I am black, but comely.
Sulemaani yayogerako nti muddugavu naye mulungi.
O ye daughters of Jerusalem.
Solomon said, I am black. The word comely means handsome.
Ekigambo kamuli oba kitegeeza kuba mulungi.
So you watch movies with King David being white.
Mulaba firimu nga kabaka Dawudi bamuteekamu omusajja omweru.
Lie.
Ekyo kya bulimba.
His son said, I am what?
I am black, but comely.
Mutabani we agambye ndi muddugavu naye ndi mulungi.
David was black. Solomon was black. Jesus Christ was black. What was the color of the apostles that walked with Christ?
Bakulaze Dawudi yali muddugavu ne Sulemaani muddugavu ne Kristo muddugavu katabuuza baabayigiriza baali bafaanana batya. Tebagenda tulaga mu Bayibuli.
Acts 13.
The book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 1.
Listen up.
Now there were in the church that was at Antioch.
In the church that was in the city of Antioch. The city of Antioch was named after a white man named Antiochus Epiphanes.
Bakolaga nti ekibuga Antioch kyatumibwa okuva ku muzungu gwe bayitanga Antiochus Epiphanes.
So there was a church in Antioch.
Walingayo kanisa mu ekyo ekibuga.
Certain prophets and teachers.
Certain prophets and teachers.
As Barnabas and Simon, that was called nigger.
Called what?
Nigger.
Called nigger. That's in the Bible, Acts the 13th chapter.
Bakolaga nti n'ekigambo nigger oba ekigambo kiri mu Bayibuli.
Spell it.
N-I-G-E-R.
That's the spelling. N-I-G-E-R. Or Niger. One of the lands. They were called black. So the apostles, the disciples that walked with Christ was black. Christ was black. Solomon was black. Go Job.
The book of Job, chapter 30, verse 30.
Listen up.
My skin is black upon me.
What did Job say?
My skin is black upon me.
Job said, my skin is black upon me. Job was black. Why have you never heard this in church before? And don't be foolish to say it doesn't matter. Everything in here matters. This is what the church is not teaching. Because once we understand that, then we'll start having respect for one another. Then we'll identify who our enemies are. Africa has built the wealth of the world. America is rich because of Africa. Israel's rich because of Africa. Europe is rich because of Africa. The only one that's not rich from Africa are Africans. It's high time we come up to church and start keeping God's commandments. Remember, we are the children of Israel. So, the white man in Israel, he's not the Jew. He's the devil. He is Satan. And God said that in the Bible. Revelations.
Book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 9. I know thy works.
This is what he says. I know thy works.
And tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich.
God said, I know your works, all the tribulations you will suffer, and the poverty that you suffer, but God said you are still rich.
And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews.
He said, and I know the blasphemy or the lie of them which say they are Jews. And are not. But are the synagogue of Satan. He said, I know thy works, tribulations, and poverty, but you're still rich. Why? Because this book is your history. We will not change our conditions by war. We change our conditions by the application of God's law. He said, I know you're rich. I know the blasphemy of them that say they are the Jews. They are not the Jews. God, the Father, called them the synagogue of Satan. Israel It's not the Middle East.
Isirayiri sije kintu nga Middle East.
Israel is Northeast Africa.
Isirayiri kitundu kwa Afrika kiri mu buvanjuba bwa Afrika.
They built a canal in 1948
bazimba omugaga wa canal mu mwaka gwa 1948
and renamed it the Middle East.
ne bamanya baganda kati ensika tugifuule Middle East.
And then they moved the white man into the land.
Ne bagenda eri ne bakima abazungu ne bateeka mu eri ttaka.
That land does not belong to the Arab,
Ettaka si ly'abasajja bawarabu
and it doesn't belong to the white man.
ate si ttaka ly'abazungu,
It is your homeland.
ttaka ly'abasajja bafirika.
What is a nation? Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you. It's nation time.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord, His word.